Well, we're here at the Scotia in Glasgow, and we have Laynie Browne with us.
Hello.
Hi. And we have Laynie Browne, unrelated, birthday person tomorrow. Yes?
Yes.
And we have Christie Williamson, a wonderful poet and friend of Mod Po,
Hello.
and who's Glaswegian from the get-go. Actually, no. He's Shetlandic. Sorry. And Sophia DoRuse.
Okay.
And we have Aaron, who has made a lot of this possible. 2 different kinds of whiskey. Woo! Aaron has treated us to one of those, and a complete round. So we're happy to have him with us.
Thanks so much. I feel so famous as if I've been.
You're not
some
famous yet. This will get some hits. We're going to talk about a poem by Tom Leonard called In Hospital. And Aaron's going to read it once through. And then Christie, who didn't know until this second, is also going to read it once through. And then we'll talk about it. Okay?
Do you want it to be authentically Glaswegian, or do you want me to pronunciate things?
Do whatever you want.
Okay, I'll go fully Glaswegian, alright mate?
Yeah, fully.
Right, cool. I like seeing Nurse Frida knitting, as I like watching my wife knitting. Through she was more of a dabber. Now, this is what I'm saying, adding to the poem. Do I read everything in brackets?
Read whatever you like.
Plain and pearl. Plain and, oh my god, that's pearl. It's not women being in their place, or knitting the chains that keep them down. Continue. The future knitting the future, the present peaceful quiet, as if the same women knitting for 1,000 years.
Snaps for Aaron. That was fantastic.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. Christie, can you outdo him?
I don't know. I don't know.
Come on, bro. You can. God bless.
No,
God bless.
it's not about that. It's not about that. In hospital, I like seeing Nurse Frida knitting, as I like watching my wife knitting, as I liked watching my mother knitting, though she was more of a dabber, plain and pearl, plain and pearl. It's not women being in their place, or knitting the chains that keep them down, just the future. Knitting the future, the present peaceful, quiet, as if the same woman knitting for 1,000 years.
That was beautiful, both.
I must say, the enunciation on the rrr, I love that. It's very Scottish, very Glaswegian. Fantastic.
It is absolutely to be read that way. So Laynie,
Yes.
he's doing a transvaluation. He's turning something around. What is he turning around? He's changing our view.
Many things. I mean, the thing that jumps out at me is that we're subverting this idea of knitting as being something that is an enclosed role that keeps somebody in a box, and seeing it in a different sense that is it's creating this calm field, this soothing field. The speaker of the poem, we know the title, In Hospital, so
We're going to have to figure that out.
we're going to have to figure that out. But that's,
before we do,
right.
Leanne, would you just spell out that stereotype of the women knitting? Because that's where Laynie was going here. He's obviously challenging
Well,
that
it's a very
stereotype.
domestic art. It's like a traditionally female art, but he's making it continue across generations, and it's also like very mythic about like knitting the future, like knitting and knitting and knitting, and like the fates making the future, like time. Like, is that what you mean? Yeah.
No, that's great. So, Christie, we get a quote. It's not women being in their place. So someone is being quoted who is invested in that stereotype of the women just waiting and knitting. So what is Tom doing there?
I mean, he's kicking against that view very much, and he's celebrating now. So so both of the things that it isn't, that he's resisting. the view, and he's saying that they're in fact what they're doing is just as important, just as crucial to life as anything else that the people who say women should be in their place do.
So, Sophia, let's bring in hospital.
Okay.
Because that's the only setting. We're getting a setting here. Something's happening.
Well, I feel like knitting is something that is conventionally performed by women, and then the contrast of it's not just women being in their place, which is they are still performing the same act, but in this setting, in a hospital, it's a care act that allows the person to feel familiar with their life as they knew it, as opposed to as it is now, which is scary and confronting because they're presumably sick and moving to a place that is unknowable. And so it's like grounding the person in like this really normal thing, this really like expected thing for a woman to do, but it's actually like doing a lot of work to make them comfortable and safe, which is important in the world, right?
So, if the speaker, and I'm just guessing, if the speaker is the one in hospital, if the speaker is in bed recovering or not recovering, we've got a nurse whose name he knows, right? So the assumption is he's been there a while. I mean, this was published. This is a selected in 1984 to 2000. So we don't know how late in his life this was, but we do know that Tom was very frail and very ill at the end. And let's just say that this was one of his hospital visits. Let's say it was a long visit. So we've got a nurse whose name he knows, his wife has come, and his mother has come. So clearly they're worried, or they're just waiting for the latest prognosis. But they're all knitting. So who wants to sort of set the scene? I mean, Aaron, what kind of scene is this? I mean, it's a little sad, right? The guy's in bed, and he's got mother, nurse, and wife knitting. This could be serious.
Well, if
he
you
might be
think of
very
it,
ill.
So I would say, I take it it's a woman that's in hospital. Yes,
Yeah, there are
from
three-
the poem.
There are three
Yes.
women around this
And
guy.
what it screams out to me is it's a woman, it's an elderly woman that is knitting. Now I just imagine my gran
Yeah, yeah. Did she knit?
knitting straight away.
And what
So
do
that's
people
what I'm
do?
thinking.
Aaron, what do people do? Why do they knit sometimes?
For fun. It's like why we drinking Scotch whiskey? Because Aaron bought
well,
a drink.
that's another thing.
You know what I mean? No, but why do people knit? For comfort, for fun, for the joy of others.
And why else, Laynie?
So, what's the most important thing you can do for a loved one when they're ill and you can't change the prognosis is just to be there.
Just to be there.
So it's a way just to be there and to be peaceful and to be present in the space quietly.
So they're doing what women do, Leanne.
Sorry.
Oh no, the other thing you said was nervous. You said, I'm nervous. That's what they're
Very
nervous. No, they're
I mean-
nervous because he's dying.
Well, of course,
The
of course.
speaker is a poet.
No one wants to be in hospital.
Yeah,
No one wants to be in
They're
hospital.
doing something with their hands
So what-
to keep
course.
it. Yeah,
People
right.
people knit when they're waiting.
Yeah, they're worried.
Right.
Let's speculate. What are they waiting
Sorry.
for?
Sorry.
What are they waiting for?
Him to die.
I mean, they're
Or
waiting
get
for the
sick.
worst.
You were saying
Yeah.
about the hands there.
Yeah.
I think that people, as human beings, often their hands need to be doing something
Yeah.
like smoking.
Occupy.
It's a learned behaviour.
Yeah.
Like knitting. Knitting may be a second nature to some
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you know what the origin of poetry is? The word poesis is the origin of poetry, and it means
To make.
to make.
To me, what
So they are
Which
the
is why the maker
Music.
is the name of the.
they are making the
big
poem,
muckers.
right?
Right.
And the first stanza is got the meter and repetition of knitting. It's reproducing the knitting, right? Okay. So now let's get to the meat of the thing, right? So it's not that these people are knitting simply to knit because this is what women do. But, Christie, what are they doing? They're not doing that. What are they doing?
Well, they're being there. They're being there, as we've said,
Yeah.
and they're keeping everything. They're keeping everything running. They're whilst Tom's in hospital, all the things to do with the house, everything that needs to be done day to day. Maybe even when he's not, then
Yeah, maybe. They're keeping things going.
yeah.
So, Sophia, just the future.
Just the future.
Only that.
Well, I think the word just is so interesting because it's like saying simply the future, as if anything in life or the future is simple, like as if we exist in simple terms. But we do, like, the one simple, like, known thing about being a human being is that we're alive and then we're not. So I think the just, like, is a really poignant placeholder for, like, the during.
It's very, very poignant. I mean, if Tom is contemplating mortality, I'm a goner, then what is left? These three women are not simply the nurse, the wife, the mother, but they are the future. They are what's going to keep going. The same woman knitting for 1,000
Like
years.
the fates.
Can I just
Like the fates.
add a point?
Yeah.
Yes, Aaron.
See, you're saying three women.
Yeah.
I think that potentially maybe
You think the
three
speaker
three personalities into one.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility?
No, the same woman. You got it.
Is that a possibility?
Yes, that's the way the poem ends. Oh my goodness.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
He's bringing you another beer. Yeah, this is like you have just
think-
won
Yeah.
the jackpot.
I just think that maybe as an uneducated answer, that,
Yeah.
because I've never studied poetry or English
you
language
have
or
now.
whatever, I just think that, because I do like to think of myself as a bit of a linguist. Not really, that was a joke by the way. But however, I just think that maybe those three personalities were maybe the same person.
Yeah.
Is that a possibility?
I think the ending suggests it.
There's a continuity that it seems like there's this timeless moment, so that even though individuals die, he sees the same woman for 1,000 years. That's not possible, but it's a through the generations, the way that we're all connected to each other, then it becomes this timeless moment, because the human quality of losing someone we love is a timeless thing that we
Yes.
all experience.
It's a tricky poem to pull off without essentializing the women, which it could be read as doing. But I think it's much too sad a poem to do that. I think he's thinking these people who are here and care about me are going to outlive me, and they're the future, not me. And of course, this poem that got made from the knitting is also, here we are many years later after Tom's death, reading it. Let's go around for final thoughts. So, Laynie, final thought, quick one.
I'm thinking about how even though it's a sad poem, it feels hopeful in the end. Like there's something iconic about the image of the three women and the timeless woman, the same person 1,000 years. There's something hopeful about
Yeah,
that.
I think he might be ready. He might be ready to go and leave this. Leanne, final
Yeah,
thought?
it's about the vigil and the domestic space and bringing the domestic space into the hospital. It's very personalized into these people that he knows, but it's also the mythic, like the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Like this younger, the nurse is usually younger, pretty nurse, and then like the mother character, and then the older woman.
Yeah,
Like those three
right.
faces,
Right.
of the goddess.
Love
goddess,
that.
yeah.
Love that. Christie, final thought?
So yeah, I really love. I mean, one thing I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen a nurse knitting in a hospital.
That's true, yeah.
He may have been there a long time and really gotten to know Frida. She might be on her off hours.
Yeah.
She's a
Yeah,
friend
yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that.
No, absolutely. So I love that. I love, and the fact that he names Frida as well is
That is really very Williams-esque. William Carlos Williams-esque. Maybe not for the best reasons. He knows the nurse's name. He's been flirting for a month while in hospital. I don't know.
But it's just such a beautiful small moment, and then he telescopes it out to
Yeah.
the 1,000 years. And
Yes,
that's
and
really-
I like seeing Frida knitting. I've been in this bed and I like I like Frida, I like seeing her, as I like my wife, as I like watching my mother. He is watching, they knit, and the poem gets made out of his watching them do things. Sophia, final thought?
I read some praise for Tom Leonard, and it said he was utterly present, as if he weren't speaking to us through a page, but over a pint. And I thought that was like a really lovely synthesis of the experience of reading this poem, because we're like conjuring these women, but also the speaker of the poem whenever we return to it. And it's as if there's like this continued presence as I like, that's present tense, like I'm doing it as we read it. And I think it's really lovely to like conjure a person because of what they've left us.
Well, it might be that the mother is not there because it's past tense. As I liked Frida and I liked my wife, and I used to like my mother too. This is getting sadder and sadder as we think about it. Aaron, final thought?
Yes, final thought. Thank you. I actually, like, when you asked me to read the poem, I just read it because I was going to go on camera, famous, blah blah blah. But as I read it, if you're asking from my poetic point of view, now I'm not going to get into politics, but the phrase "women being in their place," I think that's quite sexist.
Yes.
Is that a derogatory term in this place?
No,
Do you
no,
think? But I just think
he's
the
quoting
phrase.
stereotype,
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking women being in their place as if yes, they're just mothers, but women are so much more than that. That's my point of view anyway. But women being in their place, that's again, I'm not here to diss your poem or whatever it is. The future knitting. Again, the future knitting in the present peaceful quiet, as if. I just think that, for example, from my point of view, is that last statement, the future knitting, the future, is just the way I feel about my mum, or mom, or as you Americans would say. I just think that, I don't know about yourselves, but I'm my mummy's boy. My mum is like my go-to. I'm with my dad tonight. He's not bought a round. so that's my dad. He's had a hard paper round. So like I was like,
he's very proud right now.
Yes, I. However, other than that, the same women knitting for 1,000 years. I think that just instruments the hardcore-ship of women and how solid women are at murdering. And I'm not saying anything bad about men. I'm a man myself, alright, but I'm just saying that I think the very last paragraph kind of solidifies how strong women are. At the end of the day, there's no women without men and vice versa. So, but at the very last paragraph, I just think that kind of punches in how cool women are.
Thank you, Snap. My final thought is to reiterate what Laynie said, which is I think this is actually, in the end, a very hopeful poem about mortality, because this is the thing that survives, and he had them make it for him. So incapable at this point was he of doing one of his own things. He had them do it for him, and it lasts. Ideally, 1,000 years. Thank you, Laynie Browne. Thank you, Laynie Browne. Christie Williamson. Thank you, Sophia DoRuse. And Aaron, once again, thank you for doing it.